Hey, what's going on, everybody? Matt Holmes here with BikiniBodyBeauty.com, coming to you with another Feature Friday interview with another expert, and this one's going to be on nutrition. I'm excited, been looking forward to. Mike's a great guy. He's got his PhD, super smart, awesome guy, trains. Said the knowledge that he has is awesome. So I'm excited to have him on here, and I appreciate him taking his time because he's so busy. So, thanks, Mike, for taking the time and, sharing your knowledge with everybody.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you very much for having me on here. That's awesome. Very privileged.
Perfect. And then, I was going to kind of let you explain some more of your personal background as far as schooling goes, what got you to where you are now, and then the training and everything from there. And I know you recently, finished and got your PhD. I saw the pictures on Facebook the other day.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, so that's really awesome. So I'll let you kind of explain, your story and your background to everybody.
Yeah. So a little bit of the semi-moderate version is that I always thought physiology was fascinating, even back in high school, but I never knew what to do with it. And at the same time, I also would tear apart stuff and attempt to put them back together, and I wouldn't really succeed a lot of times doing that. So I went off to school. I did my undergrad at St. Scholastica in Duluth, Minnesota. And the really cool part about that was they actually had anatomy and physiology, I think at the time, one of the only 3 labs in the US that had undergraduates that had brand new cadavers for anatomy and physiology each quarter. So as an undergrad, when we took anatomy and physiology, we actually got to work on actual cadavers and stuff, which was pretty cool. So I did a lot of physiology stuff there. I actually ended up going to engineering after that. So I went up to Michigan Tech, which is way up in the northern part of, looks like it's northern Wisconsin, but it's almost like Canada. And it was good. And I decided to do a master's in mechanical engineering there. So that was another 4.5 years. And the whole time, everyone thought I was insane because I would take biology classes like for fun. So I took all the biology classes they had just because I thought it was interesting. I even audited at the time an exercise physiology class because they wouldn't write me into the class. And I'm like, I knew the professor, so I'm like, can I just come and just sit in your class? He's like, I suppose just don't tell anyone. I'm like, yes. So I got done with all that, and I actually started working for cardiovascular medical device company. And I liked it, and it was good. And I actually still work there part-time 14 years later. But I always found physiology is more interesting. So in like 2005, I went to, Charles Staley had a conference in Arizona. So I went down there for my vacation. And I remember sitting next to some trainers and asking them, I'm like, hey, did you see like this one study on something? And they're like looking at me funny. And then I'm like, well, you guys are trainers, right? You read research and stuff, don't you? And they're like, no, like, who the hell are you? What are you doing here? I'm like, oh, this is my vacation. And they're like, you're weird, get away from us, whatever. So at that point, I started doing actually a PhD in biomedical engineering. And I had invested almost like 4 years into that. I'd done everything except for 2 classes to finish. Hadn't done a lot of research. And at one point, I remember sitting in a class on MRIs, and I'm just like, what the hell am I doing here? I'm never going to use an MRI again. And I knew it was screwed, and the guy's like, we're now going to derive all the math that's used in how MRIs work. And so I literally ran out of there screaming, and 3 months later went over to the physiology department and had to start over because it was a completely different department. So fast forward 7 years through that, I finished my PhD in exercise physiology. And the interesting part about that is I went over there to get away from all the math because I'm like, no more math. I literally sit down at like the first meeting we have, and my advisor looks around at the table and he goes, we have 2 new projects, one on metabolic flexibility and one on heart rate variability. And he's like, you math person, these are for you. I'm like, oh, crap. I'm like, so I go over here to avoid math, and I ended up getting more math, but it wasn't too bad. So I started doing that in about 2005, started training people. I had written, do the standard thing where you write programs for your buddies and all that stuff before, but I don't really count any of that stuff until you actually exchange money and someone pays you for your service type thing. And that was good. And it was, it was nice just at that point to try to figure out, okay, here's the research, and then here's what people are, actually doing. And how do you, connect those two? Because, and I'm sure we'll get into that in this interview, is that just because you have knowledge doesn't necessarily mean you can help everyone, right? I mean, if it was only knowledge, right, I would pick up like the sports, nutrition book, and clients would come in and I just start reading crap to them, right? But it's not going to work, right? Yeah. So I think there's always how do you take that and translate it in order to get them to get the right info and then to actually take action on it too.
Yeah, because I've noticed there's been disconnects. So like friends that I've met, like I never went the whole college route. I've always liked it. At one point I was like, I want to get a PhD in exercise physiology, this and that. And I was like, I don't want to take all that other crap that they need. So it's like, I went the other route of just specializing and going to seminars and reading and studying specific things that way, and just kind of bypassed all of that. But I've had friends, that had, the CSCS certifications like you and all these things. And some of them, they come to me, or they, had, a degree in exercise physiology, not a PhD, but they had, master, and they knew stuff I didn't know. But then they would come to the gym. They were brand new trainers, and it totally they could school me on all the book stuff.
Yeah.
I was teaching them like all these things. They're like, oh, well, my professor said this. And I'm like, well, has your professor ever stepped into a weight room? No. Being in that arena, like there's a lot of stuff that sounds great and the science is behind it, but it doesn't actually somehow doesn't work out within the trenches. There's kind of a difference there. So it's good that you have both, and then you actually know how to implement it, like you said. Because there's a lot of people like, I could just read a bunch of stuff online and not even know, and just read it off to people and just regurgitate it. There's a big difference between them.
Yeah, because even like the other person who was in my lab, she did more cardiovascular type stuff. And she's very knowledgeable and extremely intelligent, but people would, wander in the lab once in a while and ask training questions, and she'd be like, I don't know, go talk to him. Because she never had to apply, right? Her whole thing was she's only going to do research. She didn't train people. And I would, Cal Dietz is, one of the, in my opinion, the top, collegiate coaches in the U.S., works coaches at the University of Minnesota. He was literally like right around the corner from the lab that I was in. So I'd go over there and I knew him, and I'd sit on his couch and be like, hey, Cal, what about blah, blah, blah? And it was always amazing because he would test stuff on a wide group of actual real athletes and say, well, here's the physiology that he actually understood. Here's how I tested it, and here's what I found. And everyone in my lab was like, I don't know why you spend time talking to him. And I'm like, what? Like, one of the most brilliant coaches is 2-minute walk from where I'm at. It's like, why would I not talk to him? But they're like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to us because they didn't have to apply it in that realm, So it's just a completely different, mind space. So.
Yeah, they were more on the science aspect, not like with us actually taking it and applying it to people on a daily basis and stuff. So, okay, perfect. So yeah, that kind of gets a lot of people. So you've had a lot of schooling, you got a lot of years under your belt with that, and then training, and then I know you do a lot of cool training stuff yourself. The next thing I kind of wanted to bring up, especially because you mentioned, the metabolic flexibility is, you just came out with your book. For everybody's, listening, they can go check it out. You're an author of it. It's called Metabolic Flexibility, but kind of explain what the concept is behind that, and, we'll expand on it from there, I guess.
Yeah. So I think even in physiology textbooks, unfortunately, everything is taught in sort of this boring, static model, right? I mean, that's the whole reason that exercise physiology is even a discipline for about the last 100 years, because physiology at rest is just pretty freaking boring, right? I mean, it's okay, but now once you move, things become more interesting. And the two main fuels for exercise, if you simplify them, are simply carbohydrates and then also fats. Most people know that, but even in physiology books, it's still a lot of times taught, well, here's all your fat, physiology, here's how it works. Here's all your carbohydrate physiology. They're almost like taught as completely separate, I think. And the reality is your body is using sort of a mix of fuels back and forth all the time. And that concept is taught, via what's called the crossover theory. So metabolic flexibility is saying, okay, if that's true, we're always kind of using a mix of carbs and a mix of fats, that it is the mixture you're using and how fast you can move from one to the next, right? So it's kind of like having a hybrid car, right? So you still have a gas engine, you still have electric. Each one kind of has its own specific properties that are a little bit better. And that's kind of the same way with fats and carbohydrates. The metabolic flexibility is looking at how fast can you go back and forth between the two. So if you go to some extreme situation where you're fasting or not eating for a long period of time, how fast can you move back to using fat as your primary fuel source? And the flip side is if you go to the gym and do, weight training type session, or you go do some sprints, how fast can you move to use primarily carbohydrates for the exercise so that you get the performance benefit from that? So it's the model I like to use is sort of performance-based fat loss, right? If your performance is always just dropping, it's gonna be really, really hard, to get better body composition, better looking physique. So metabolic flexibility helps with that because you can still try to maintain your performance as long as you possibly can and improve it, and then still, improve your body composition to some degree also.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so it's like you're saying, when you're in the gym, for kind of explaining it again over to people, is you're using your stored energy of the, your glycogen source, like the carbohydrate sources, and then you want to switch after that of getting basically like your fat metabolism up, and then using the fat for energy, and then as we know, right after the post-workout, you want to replenish what you just burnt off with fast digesting carbs, and then obviously proteins as well, spiking that insulin. So you're basically replenishing what you just burnt off, but then from there, you switch back over to burning off the fat stores, and then that's how people can basically burn off fat and then gain lean mass at the same time, correct?
Yep, that's correct. And obviously there's going to be some limits to that, right? Some guys, and even women, right, especially for women, can have a change in body composition, pretty good, so they can gain lean muscle and lose fat. At some point you probably have to, I would say, specialize those pathways a little bit. But in terms of general theory, yep, I would agree 100%.
Okay, perfect. So kind of what's, within that, like I was kind of reading, I went online, and I was reading some of the testimonials and stuff that went along with this that people were using within the exercise, using the metabolic flexibility. And one of them stood out, which I love these examples anytime I can show them to women, where girls they look a lot leaner, and they typically actually weigh more than they did in there before. But the biggest thing is with that is it's kind of a two-part. People seem like, okay, weight is just a number. It's more of lean mass, fat mass, not just losing weight in that number. But the biggest thing on top of that is when you see, okay, they say, I was eating this amount before, and this is what I weighed. And then here's what I look like now, and I'm eating this much more. One of them said, like a girl, she was saying, I think she was eating around 1,600 calories and really low carb. And then now she said she's eating, different carbs, which we can get into on that as well. But she was eating like now 2,200 calories a day. And she lost.
Yeah. And that's to me, because I always look at it as what is going to be long-term sustainable, right? Not everybody necessarily cares about that. There's specific times where, you'll take a short-term gain so that it's not sustainable. But in general, right, most people want to do things where once they get to whatever their goal is, it's going to be easier to maintain it. They don't want to do all this work to get to whatever percent body fat and then be like, oh crap, and then have it, slide back the other direction. So the nice part then is that your metabolism is not fixed in stone, right? So everybody says, oh, I'm at 1,300 calories, it never changes. Reality is it does actually change. Not quite as much as people think. But even the simple thing of overeating. So people think, oh my gosh, if I start eating more, I'm just going to get fat. Well, yeah, you can't get around the fact that calories matter. But what they don't count on is that as you eat more, and Levine from the Mayo did these studies a long time ago, is that your metabolic rate will slowly actually start to go up. So eating more actually will increase your metabolic rate. And at some point, you know, I remember John Berardi saying for, you know, all the guys who are trying to, you know, skinny guys trying to gain weight that, you know, at some point you will out eat your metabolism. That's not going to increase, you know, forever. But the fact is your metabolic rate will actually increase. And the hard part is that the variation on how much that increases is pretty radical from one person to the next. So you've got people where you can really just overfeed them a lot, and their body ramps up this process, which is called NEAT, so non-exercising activity thermogenesis. In essence, they just spontaneously start moving around more, they start twitching, they just become more active, and they burn off a lot of those excess calories. But the nice part is that their metabolic rate in general starts to go up too. So the nice part with women is that they're always, unfortunately, stuck in this sort of restrictive mindset. Okay, I just have to exercise less. Oh my gosh, carbohydrates are bad. You know, someone emailed me the other day that, you know, a friend of hers had just a complete meltdown because she had a binge session where she ate 2 whole granola bars and just lost her mind, right? I'm like, 2 granola bars, you know? But if you're so restrictive, that actually is, you know, sort of outside your comfort zone. So the one thing I try to do is that it's kind of the do more, be more, eat more, which I got from Dr. Lonnie Lowry. So if we look at sort of expansion of, you know, do more of this, you know, eat more protein, you know, sometimes have more carbohydrates around training, you know, do more weight training, you know, do more high intensity type stuff, that I like to emphasize what for them to do, in essence, to sort of push out all the other stuff, right? So if you tell the average person off the street to eat more protein, we know from some studies done at University of Illinois, they'll spontaneously eat less carbohydrates. However, if you told them, don't eat carbohydrates, most people can't sustain that approach for very long. So I like to think of it as more of an expansion-based model. Your metabolic rate will actually go up over time. And if you're at a higher, you know, caloric intake and you're even just maintaining, well, obviously, if you go to cut down from there, it's going to make your life a lot easier, right? Because I get some, you know, clients and emails that are like, well, I think I'm maintaining my current body composition at about 1,000 calories, but I want to get even leaner. It's like, well, where do you go? At 800 calories, 600 calories? You know, you have like 4 chicken breasts a day and that's how you live the rest of your life? You know, I mean, to me, that's just not very sustainable. So sometimes you have to kind of ratchet your way back up and then, you know, go back down a little bit then.
Yeah.
It's way, way easier then too.
Yeah, and with a lot of that too, that makes me think like within the members area that we have, there was a video I did with an interview with Travis Jones, which I think you know TJ.
Yeah.
We talked more about nutrition stuff as well, and a lot of that was kind of similar to this of, you know, extremely low caloric intake limits you very much. Like you can drop a lot if your metabolism's up here, but all of a sudden you restrict your calories. It's common sense you're going to lose, but just as how your metabolism will go up, your metabolism is going to go down. But when you're at that such low range, it's a lot harder for you to adjust from there and keep getting the results. And then on top of that, if you're also exercising, you could do a lot more good, a lot more harm than actual good, because you're at that such low rate. You're not replenishing what you need to from all the exercise. So I think it's good for people to hear and know, like, okay, hey, eat more than what you're thinking, because I would say probably 90% of everybody, if not even more than that, believe in the restricting lower than what they really should, when they probably could stay the same, if not bump up what they're eating a little bit. You know, within the macros, you know, it'll change, but bump up the calories. And then the actual exercise on top of that, you know, as you're saying, they're going to bump up calories, so the metabolism's going to come up slightly. You know, it's not going to go crazy. But then when you're eating that much, but you're still expending more and you're exercising more, for one, your calories are higher, so you have more room to, you know, take 50 calories down here on carbs. It's, you know, do those slight changes so you're continually progressing. You're feeding your body from the high exercise, so you're not going to gain either, because you're eating more, but your metabolism's up, but you're exercising more and correctly. So I think it's good for people to kind of hear that, not of like, oh, let me just exercise and eat 1,200 calories a day.
Yeah, and that's so like one of the very first things that I get people that I look at is, okay, what did you do for exercise? And then beyond that, how much did you change in that exercise over time, right? Because invariably, almost every single time, if you look at their performance of their exercise, it starts off good and then it just starts dropping, right? So if your performance of exercise is dropping, you are literally giving your body less of a signal to adapt in a positive direction, right? And that's how you run into people who are like, man, I'm working really, really hard. I'm trying really hard, but nothing's happening, right? And their body's going, I don't know, screw you. All I get is a bunch more stress. You're not doing anything more to cause me to even try to get a positive adaptation, right?
Yeah.
It's like if your deadlift is 315 or, person's deadlift's 315, they go into the gym and they're only doing, 200 by one every day. It's going to be pretty hard to get stronger, right? And then all of a sudden they're doing 185 by one, right? They're actually regressing. So when you provide more calories for them to actually perform in the gym, and you schedule their overload in different ways so that they can, increase. Now, at a base level, you have the stimulus not only to maintain muscle, right, which is going to make them look better. It's going to, help their body composition, help metabolic rate. But a lot of times you're actually physically burning more calories, right? Because you're doing a higher quality of work. You're not just equating, wow, I went to the gym, I'm really tired. Man, that must have been good, right? Your body doesn't care so much about that. It says, what did you do to cause me to, get stronger, lose fat, that type of thing, right? So it's almost like you can't stop that adaptation. You can do stuff to slow it down, but it's almost like you can never stop adaptation of the body. So if you always provide a good stimulus that they can do, recover from, and, get a little bit stronger, do a little bit more volume, do a little bit more work, and continue to do that over time, now at a base level, you're providing a very heavy stimulus for them to keep, as much muscle as they can. Because your body, from a survival standpoint, goes, oh my gosh, they went and they picked up this heavy load or did this. I don't really want to tear down a lot of muscle tissue because, well, crap, they went to the gym and did it again the next day and the next day, So it's really a heavy stimulus to try to maintain as much of that as you can.
Yeah, and I think with a lot of that too, kind of brings up also the point that you can tie in with, it's always been a debate, but I've seen it more and more recently, the past month, with all these articles coming out, is the, aerobic and anaerobic, or cardio compared to conditioning. The adaptation that you're saying with that of, doing the same thing within the gym, the performance is kind of going down and you're not forcing your body to keep adjusting and adapting. It's the same thing with, the running. To get more and more, you got to keep running longer and longer and longer and longer to keep getting the same. Where if you do shorter, intense conditioning, there's so many variations alone that you can do of just carrying heavy things or running hill sprints or pushing stuff, and then varying the intensity and the rest periods within that. There's so much more room to keep the body guessing, for that.
Yeah, and I would say it's not even so much guessing. It's just that you're providing a continual positive stimulus to push it in the direction you want, right? And I think especially with women, what I've seen is that their solution to a lot of stuff is just eat less and then just do more low intensity cardio. It's like, does that work? Yeah, it works. But the question I always ask is, what adaptation are you getting with that, right? So yes, when you do lower intensity cardio, you do use more fat, but the amount of time you're going to have to spend to do that is going to be just exponential, right? So now you're doing, 2-3 hours of cardio a day, eating, 1,000 calories or something crazy like that, where I think exactly what you said is much better. How much more higher intensity work can you do? Make sure your performance is still good. Yeah, if you had to add some lower intensity stuff on that, my preference is away from training, maybe, but that's usually the hierarchy I go is weight training, interval-based stuff, and then maybe some lower intensity cardio at that point. And even then, I try to divorce those two sessions as much as possible. I think, while the research is pretty split, I think one of the worst things you can do is go to the gym, do a higher intensity weight training session, and then get on the treadmill and do, an hour at 50% of your VO2 max, right? So just a moderate intensity. Because I literally think your body at that point is going, what do I do, right? Because you did the heavy weight training stuff, so you want me to get stronger. You want me to use carbohydrates while the training session's going on. You actually use more fat after. You want me to get bigger, literally muscle fibers that do not use oxygen because they're so big, oxygen can't pass through. Oh, but wait a minute, but now you went on the treadmill. Now you want me to use fat, and you want me to have smaller fibers that actually use oxygen because they need smaller for oxygen to get through. So the adaptations are like completely separate, right? So you don't see power lifters winning marathons. You don't see marathon runners winning powerlifting events, right? So I think if you're going to do that sort of concurrent training, do a bike, less interference with that. One, drop the lower intensity if you have to, or just do it at a completely separate time. I'm a big fan of just get up in the morning and go for a walk fasted. It's low enough intensity. It's not going to mess up much for adaptations. Yeah, you will use more fat. You get the benefit of vitamin D. You get to be outside. All that other stuff, I think, is just, if not maybe more beneficial. And then make sure your performance is more weight training, interval type based.
Yeah. And I think, I prescribe a lot of that to people where they're like, I want to do something else, and I try and tell them, like, you don't want to kill yourself every day, like, going and doing some things, going and doing this, going and doing weight training. I'm like, especially as like if you're sore too, like go walk around.
Yeah,
go walk around the block, take out to the park. Like that's
go play.
You're still burning calories, but you're like it's more of the active rest thing. It's not high intensity. It's not going to hurt yourself. It's you're sore. It's going to help loosen up your muscles, get that blood flowing. It's going to help you recover faster, and then save the other days for, doing more of the higher intensity, where, say, with the clients that we have now, a lot of it is, full body training days, especially for the women. Some of the times are more like the AMRAPs, for time. Some of them are more split supersets, full circuits, things like that. And then we'll throw in a quick finisher. And then there will be, depending on the person, it's obviously different. Some of them I throw in more days where it's like, okay, just this day, you're going to do a high intensity interval type session, or on Saturday, you're going to, you're just going to do Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Saturdays, you're going to go do your high intensity. And then if like, well, I want to do something else. Okay, Tuesday, go walk around.
Yeah.
That's fine. You don't need to be constantly driving yourself into the ground, especially when most of those people aren't providing enough nutrients for all that exercise alone, when they're eating 12, 13, even 4, like below 2,000 calories. With all that exercise, you're going to need to be eating above 2,000 calories for all of that.
Yeah, and you add in that the average person is very stressed, their sleep is screwed up, they add everything else on top of it. And at some level, the body really only knows stress, right? So is, lifting and training a stress? It is. Is it a positive stress for most? Yep. But at some level, it's still stress, right? So if you've got 3 kids you're chasing around all day, you sleep 5 hours a night, you work a full-time job, and now you're trying to train every single day of a high intensity, very, very few people can pull that off in my experience.
Yeah. And then as, I kind of want to get your explanation on it from more of the scientific standpoint of those people that do want to go, and we can go both sides. As you and I both know, and I tell people, I'm like, go spend your time. Don't go into the gym and go on a treadmill for 20, 30 minutes or whatever, and do some cardio. If you want, warm up. Yeah, do a dynamic warm up, get the blood flowing, then go and do your weight training session, and then do your finisher. But a lot of people, they'll do either the cardio before, or even no matter what you tell them, like, do your finisher, do this, and then you're done. They're like, well, I feel like I want to do more, which tends to be more psychological. Like if you're feeling okay after what I just told you to do, you didn't push hard enough for one. And then other part is they just have that thing of like, I need to do more and more and more. And so they will go jump on and do 30 to 60 minutes. On the scientific standpoint, how I know it's not really going to be getting them, if they want to lose fat, put on some lean mass, when how the body is actually interacting with the hormones and the energy systems it's using at that point after they do a full body training session, maybe do a finisher, and then they go do 30 to 60 minutes of cardio after that. For what I know, you've burnt through that stored fuel, and then that's where you start to get catabolic instead of anabolic, because you ran out of what you need basically. So you're just going to start burning your muscle. I kind of wanted to get your more scientific knowledge.
So the first part in terms of catabolic, anabolic. So if you look at physiology, catabolic is anytime you're pulling stuff down and using it. In the bodybuilding world, fitness world, catabolic usually only means relative to muscle. So that's usually the distinction. In terms of your viewpoint, I would agree, but I would look at it in terms of adaptation. So it is true. So when you're weight training, you're using primarily more carbohydrates as your fuel source. You are breaking down some proteins, which then get rebuilt up later, which is good. I think the biggest problem with doing more, one is the more that you're going to do, is it going to burn just a little bit more fat? Yeah, kind of. There's the theory that you have higher levels of circulating fats. So then if you do lower intensity work, you can increase fatty acid oxidation directly and then use more of those fats. I'm a much bigger fan of what is everything I can do to get a better adaptation to weight training, interval-based work, and then just basically leave the gym at that point, right? So even Charlie Francis said this years ago, that if you get a huge PR, personal record in the gym, he's like, you're done, just walk out. Well, are you really going to do better than that? If it's a PR you've been chasing for 6 months or a year, are you really going to do any better than that? Probably not. What happens if you miss? Shit. Now you've got, one rep you made that was awesome. The next one you made that was a complete utter failure. So now you're almost, sort of back at zero a little bit. So I think just leaving once you've done the work that you need to is better. From an adaptation, it's kind of what I said before. I think your body ends up with they call it an interference effect. And how much is present is pretty debatable. You can look at a lot of research. Dr. Coffey's done a lot of very cool molecular research on this. My buddy, Dr. Jacob Wilson, published a meta-analysis, I think last year now, that took a whole bunch of studies and looked at them to see if you do concurrent training of weight training and some aerobic stuff, what sort of adaptation do you get? The short version is, as you get to a higher level athlete, you tend to see more of an interference effect. If someone's brand new, can they get stronger? Can they get leaner? Can they increase their aerobic performance? Yeah. Can they do that by probably doing not the best program where they throw all of them together right next to each other? Yeah. Do I think that's probably the best thing to do? I would argue probably not, because one, it's more time intensive. So now you've got these very long sessions that some people will do. I'd say most people probably won't initially. And I just don't think that having a moderate aerobic session following an anaerobic weight training session is going to yield much benefit. I think you're going to end up with an adaptation somewhere in the middle instead of having a higher adaptation. So what I would do in the real world, so in the real world, what do you get, right? Exactly what you had. People that come in and go, yeah, I did your session, because the programs I start people off on are too easy on purpose. I'm like, oh, I feel like I got to do more. It's like, no, just don't. And if they kind of go off the rails and start doing more, then my only requirement is, one, you have to tell me you did more so I know what the heck you're doing. And then two, you have to track your performance on that. If you can show me that you are doing this and you are physically getting better and getting closer to your goals, okay, I'll let you go with it, right? Because who am I to argue with, the result you're getting? I may tweak stuff in the future to try to get a little better result, but most of the time, I'd say 9 times out of 10, you look at their performance, it's good, and then it just starts dropping. And then I'll have them rated, so like a RPE, so rating perceived exertion. So how hard did you feel that session was? Oh yeah, that was a 9 out of a 10. That was really hard. Okay. And then what was your performance on that session? Well, oh, wow, it's like worse than what it was 2 weeks ago. Oh, 4 weeks into it, oh my gosh, it's worse than what it was 5 weeks ago. And so they, in my opinion, the only way to get them to change is to provide them enough awareness that, see, look what you're doing. You're working harder. You're trying really, really hard, but the adaptation that you're giving your body is actually less. And so they, in my opinion, have to take some ownership, some awareness of that. And then hopefully the next words out of their mouth are, okay, well, how do I change that then? Oh, good question that you asked. And then I send them back to the same program they did before they wrote for.
That's an interesting way. I'm going to have to start doing that with some of my people. Of like, okay, great. If you want to do it. Basically, I'll do the same thing and show them, because the majority, like I said, of everybody is going to see, especially if they're not eating the way they need to, and the amount of caloric intake, they're going to see that decline. They're not going to be, the weights are going to get heavier, or they're not going to be hitting the reps, or they're going to feel more exerted, like they're pushing, I feel more tired, but it's like, it's not in a positive way of you pushing yourself and you're tired. Right. You're going above and pushing that barrier like you need to get that adaptation. You're actually going down and you're trying to still push up here, but your body's dropping down.
Yeah, because I think at the basic level, your body is very much survival based, right? Your body is going to do everything it possibly can to survive. So if you're in the gym picking up large, heavy stuff and you can do it successfully, your body goes, oh, crap, I better get stronger because this guy, girl, whoever is going to go in the gym and do this, or they're going to do 30 kettlebell swings or whatever. I better get better at doing that because they seem to be wanting to do this over and over. The flip side is when you start adding too much to that, or you start exceeding the ability of your body to recover, your stress is going to become much higher, and then your body is going to be trying as hard as it can to get that positive adaptation, but it may temporarily start sliding backwards a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's why it is extremely important for everybody to, I'm always on top of my clients of, are you tracking, keeping your log, track, like post what you're eating so I know you're eating enough, that you're not skipping snacks, or I'm not hungry so I didn't eat it. It's like, no, eat it because you still need it. Whether you're hungry or not, your body, you don't necessarily have to be hungry to have your body be like, okay, I need that. It still needs it if you are performing at the level that you need to. And if someone comes to me and says, I'm not getting the results I want, it's like, okay, like what's wrong? It's like, well, it's kind of like it's the hardest question to answer. If someone's new coming to you and they tell you what they're doing, what's wrong, it's a lot easier. But if someone's already coming to you and they've been working with you and say, oh, well, I stalled out and this and that, it's like, well, I need to see what you're eating. Yeah, you haven't shown me what you're eating. You're not tracking what you're doing. So it's like, it could be one thing. It could be a multiple of things of why you stalled out and you plateaued. It couldn't be like, okay, most people think, well, let me drop more calories and let me do some more cardio and some more work, where could be you need to up your calories and actually do less work than what you are doing with all this added extra stuff to it. And it's a weird concept, and I can understand why people don't know that. Like, well, why do less? That doesn't. Yeah. Why do I eat more and then do less? Like, that sounds like totally wrong and shouldn't happen. But hopefully, everybody that's kind of listening to this can understand it a little bit more now of how your body reacts and why. Is that it's training and nutrition, everything. It's really simple, but it's not at the same time. Like, it's really complex, but you can break it down to be extremely simple like we are now. I know you can take all this stuff and make it super complex and scientific. Oh, yeah. But it actually, it's really simple on the base level of here's what the body does, here's why, here's what it does here, and here's why. So here's what we do, and track, test, retest, and keep going.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that I think, so I always view my job and your job is very similar, is that you have to have some understanding of all the complex stuff that's going on. Yeah, I think to some degree you do. Is physiology itself, how the body works, just utterly complex? Totally agree. Does that mean that the action that the client actually has to take need to be complicated? No. So I always said that it's complex physiology, but simple actions, right? I mean, we could sit here and discuss about all, just even simple, muscle contraction of, what actually happens from the nervous conduction to the ion flows to the calcium channels, yak. But what does the client actually do? Yeah, go over there, pick that up. Oh, okay. Right? I mean, eat this, eat more of that, go move like this. I mean, the actions in general are simple. And I think it's sometimes hard for trainers and even clients to go that, well, these simple actions, that's just one that can't be the solution, because everyone sells them that this is the most complicated thing known to man. And I'm like, and I've even said this in a few products, it's like, because I've had feedback from people that are like, yeah, I bought your product, it was cool. But I don't know, you just told me to do like these, 7 or 10 things or whatever. That seems too simple. So I always write back, okay, well, how did it go for you? It's the Dr. Phil thing, right? So how's that working for you? Well, I don't know, I haven't done them yet. Okay. And I'm like, well, I can send you the complicated one. I'll give you a list of 100 things that you should do every single day before you get out of bed. But is that really what you want? I mean, there's no way you're going to be able to follow it. It's not I'm more hardcore than the next guy. It's just do what you need to do. And the simpler, the better, because I think our job in sort of the fitness world is to take all the complicated stuff and to make it as simple as possible for clients to get them moving in the right direction. So I'm a big fan of eat more protein. They're like, oh, why'd you pick protein? I'm like, well, because it increases, you're feeling of satiety, right? And you're more full, helps recovery, helps, all these other different myriad of processes. And I know most people, especially women in general, are very low. Pretty much every single time they eat more, they end up losing weight, they feel full longer. And actually, I had a client a couple months ago email me, and she's like, I feel like I'm too full all the time. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, how's your body composition stuff? Oh, it's great. Oh, cool. But I don't think I should feel this full. I'm like, okay, but you're getting the result you wanted, right? She's like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. What is the problem? She's like, oh, that does sound kind of weird, doesn't it? And I'm like, isn't that the goal? Isn't that the goal of having the result you want with less effort? I mean, you set up the whole rest of your life that way, right? No one, the gym's the only place that's like bizarro world where people walk in and like the universe like flips 180 or whatever. It's like you don't go to work and go, man, how can I just be so trash by the time I leave work that's going to be awesome? It's like you go, how much stuff can I get done, and hopefully I feel pretty good when I leave, right? I mean,
how can I
don't think the gym should be any different
with my time at work, get the most done,
Yeah.
and be, breaking it down and making it simple. And, that's kind of I've never thought of it that way, the correlation with stuff, people want to do all these billion different exercises. Like, no, pick these, keep it simple, pick big compound movements. You're moving your body around, you're doing full body, exercises, especially for the women that I do a lot that want to lose the weight. It's like, it's like, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Cause like you said, you wouldn't do that at work. You wouldn't do it in your life at home. It's like, oh, I'm going to clean the house. Let me make it super complicated. And I'm going to, sweep the floor with a toothbrush because it's work. It's not really going to work out.
Yeah. This is not needed, So with those clients, I do have them. It's always sort of like, I feel like a bartering type system. It's like one of the key questions I ask people is, what do you think is currently in your program now that you believe is getting you the most results? And if they tell me it's, 60% of my VO2 max or heart rate on a treadmill for an hour a day, as much as I think that's probably not the best thing to start at, especially if they can do weight training or other things, I'm probably not going to write their program that doesn't have any of it in there, right? Because they're going to look at their program on day one and go, this guy's a freaking idiot. I told him the thing that gets me results, and it's not in my program at all, and they're just not going to do anything at all, right? So it's like, okay, maybe do that 3 days a week. Maybe we only do that for a half hour now. How can I sort of wean them off of that a little bit? Well, changing their thought process and then allowing them to see, oh, look, as we did more weight training, wow, you actually got leaner. Oh, I did. Oh, wow, okay. Sort of trying to re-educate them along the way. So at the end of it, they know what works for them, right? They know, okay, if I only lifted weights 3 days a week and eat, whatever, I can get probably 80% of my results just by doing that, right? Because it's, the fancy term now is minimal effective dose and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of times you're stuck on whatever their psychology is in order to allow them to change, right? So you kind of, when I first started, the biggest mistake I made was I'm like, oh, I know a fair amount about physiology. I'm going to work with clients. This should be easy, right? And every trainer like just starts laughing hysterically. And one of the guys I had sit down and I look at his nutrition log. And my first thought was, well, if you didn't eat a bag of Oreos every other day, you'd lose weight, right? So what did I tell him? Stop eating Oreos, right? Seems very, very simple. And as you can imagine, it didn't work at all, right? And I was like beating my head against the wall. I go, what the? I can, pull physiology textbooks to show them that this works, but it wasn't something he was willing to give up. So I said, okay, now eat, in his case, 150 grams of protein a day. I don't even care what you do for the rest of your nutrition now. Really? I can eat Oreos every day? Don't care, as long as you eat your protein first and you meet that goal. Cool. And he started losing weight. And all of a sudden he started eating less Oreos, right? Because he was full.
Yeah.
But, telling people, it's like, don't think of a pink elephant. You just thought of a pink elephant. No, I told you don't think of the pink elephant, right? So whatever you kind of tell them not to do, it's like their brain gets sort of hyper-focused on too. And then they start having these things where, oh my God, he's taking away my favorite food. Oh, he's telling me not to do this. I don't know if I like this guy. And, and I don't think they do it intentionally. It's just sort of kind of
it's human
working
behavior.
around those things.
Yeah, human behavior, I think, is the key with a lot of that one. And kind of going on with that same theme, because I know you got to go in about 10 minutes for another call. I was going to jump on to like fasted cardio stuff, but I want to jump past that one actually. If people want to know more about it, let me know. We can maybe do another call or some article, or I can for you guys on that, because that's an interesting topic. What I kind of wanted to talk about then is a little bit more on the nutrition stuff then, of what to take out, when to put it in, how much, because a lot of like what I coach and teach with people, I'm not like paleo is the only way and this and that. I first started with Berardi stuff, with precision nutrition, which is, like I was reading an article with him that people like, he was, what are you guys? And it's like, we're not really anything. It just depends on the person. But I know their huge background is, it's like a paleo caveman, because he does like some more of the starchy carbs, but just post-workout, everything else is fruits, vegetables, fats, healthy fats, and, lean meats, or fish and poultry. That's basically kind of what I tell with people. And the biggest thing that I see, people are like, oh, you're cutting that out, is a lot of the starchy carbs, where I'm like, it's a case to case. If someone needs to lose, 40, 50 pounds, we're going to cut a lot more of those starches out, because I've just seen that helps them drop faster and get them to where they need to be, and then slowly start to work them in. If someone needs to drop less, or they're kind of getting close to that goal, then it's like, okay, we'll start working in some more of the starches, because everybody loves them. I love starchy carbs, but I'm trying to put on more weight than lose, so normal. But again, it's keeping those post-workout. So I kind of wanted to get your opinion on some of that stuff of, the fruits and vegetables compared to more of the grains and starches, breads, pastas, and then, the healthy fats and lean proteins.
Yeah, so I guess my template's probably similar to John's. I think it works really well. So the things that I tell people initially is, so my first requirements normally eat more protein, right? So about 0.75 grams per pound of body weight. You can do the 1 gram per pound of body weight, right? And so for a lot of women, that's usually quite a bit higher than where they're at. If it's just a run-of-the-mill person, I don't know anything about them. Easiest template I do is just what I call the 4x40. So 4 meals, about 40 grams of protein at each meal. Is that more protein than they probably need for a protein synthetic response and stuff? Yeah. Is it a lot of food for, a smaller petite female? Yeah. But if it's just a average person I don't know anything about, starting there tends to work really well. I usually try to move carbohydrates, most of them, not all of them, to actually before and after training. So if I had a preference, I would have starchier carbohydrates actually before training. My rationale for that is that usually the performance is a little bit better. Again, that varies a lot from one person to the next. And if we look at insulin, when insulin levels are higher, it pushes your body to use more carbs. When insulin levels are lower, it pushes your body to use more fats. So before a weight training or an intense sprint session, I actually want them to use, via metabolic flexibility, as many carbohydrates as possible, right? So I'm going to nutritionally match the fuel source to the exercise that they're doing. It's, seems to work a little bit better. After training, yeah, I think your body can use carbohydrates more effectively at that point. Is it really, in my opinion, a huge deal to get them all repleted back before the next training session? In most cases, no, because most of the time they're going to train 24 hours later. And as long as their calories are about good, their body will resynthesize enough glycogen that it's okay. If you have people where they're doing 2-a-day sessions, then yes, after the first session, faster acting carbohydrates do tend to help. And a lot of those I will then modify around their lifestyle. So some people, may only be able to train in fasted first thing in the morning. So are they going to have more carbohydrates after training or even the night before? I just tell them move the other ones to the night before. In general, each meal would have some type of fat, preferentially some type of vegetable. I don't really shun fruits. I don't really think they're that bad. Rarely have I ever had a client who's been eating too many, fruits, and that's the reason why they're not losing weight, right? In general, I don't put restrictions per se on other processed carbohydrates. I usually try to have them emphasize enough of the good ones that it just sort of kind of pushes the rest of them out of their diet. So again, usually if you tell someone, oh, you can never have Pop-Tarts or whatever, then they just have this weird obsession with Pop-Tarts all of a sudden. So I usually tend to set protein first, move carbohydrates, usually before and after training. Most of them, not all of them. And then increase fiber, veggies. And fat, I usually just specify fish oil. So about 2 to 4 grams of EPA plus DHA. So EPA and DHA are the fish oils themselves. Taken with the meal. The rest of the fat, I think, just kind of comes along in their diet is what I've seen. I don't necessarily specify low fat, if they want to get, full fat yogurt and all that kind of stuff. I don't really say not to. I usually find that they tend to eat less of it. If I say get a very low fat food, they usually tend to eat more. So oddly enough, I found just, grab whatever the more whole version is tends to work a little bit better for people.
Okay, that's interesting then on that one. And then, based off of that, then what are some good carbohydrate sources that you recommend for people before working out? And then with that, I want people to kind of know that take into account where you're at now, the amount of exercise you're doing and your goals. If you're still someone that wants to lose a lot of weight, take them in, but don't overeat. If you're more of an athlete and you're trying to put on size, you're obviously going to eat more of those carbs before and after. So don't I can eat carbs, so I'm just going to, and I'm going to work out, eat, a bunch of this and that. Take into account of the moderation of how much you want to have based on your goals. But with that being said, what are some sources that you recommend?
Yeah, so usually pre-training, if it's someone who's relatively athletic already, it's interesting, right? So if you have people who need to lose a lot of weight, having some carbs before and after, it helps, not as big of an effect. Ironically, some people who've done CrossFit who are very active, their carbohydrates in the past have been so low that just adding more carbohydrates to their diet, they get like crazy PRs and they're like, oh, my body composition is so much better now. So it varies a ton from one to the next. So pre-training, usually ones I'm a big fan of are like dates, figs, sweet potatoes are good. Any type of potato, in my opinion, is fine. Spotted bananas, things like that they're a little bit more on the starchier carb side. I've usually found that people's ability to handle them in terms of GI stuff is usually pretty good. Even like some, cereals, like rice cereals, that type of thing. I know John Meadows is a big fan of that. Those tend to work pretty good. If you want to go more of a prepackaged type thing, Vitargo or a highly branched carbohydrate tends to work well with like a whey protein. That's probably a little overkill for most people, but the advantage I have noticed with that is that you can have it 15, even 30 minutes before training, and rarely does it ever bother anybody's stomach either. So that'd be kind of the range. And, there's other things that people can have too. It's a lot of it is just, carbohydrate amount and then how it sort of makes their digestion feel. Usually the more starchier carbs, a little more higher glycemic stuff tends to not bug people as much.
Okay, perfect. I think that's great, and I know you got to go, so we'll kind of cut it at that. If people want to check out the metabolic flexibility book or get more stuff from you, what's the best source to go to, contact you in coaching or get the book, everything from there?
Yeah, so the best thing is just my website. It's just www.miketnelson.com. So MIKETNELSON. There's actually a free offer there now for 6 fat loss videos. It's free to just plug in their email, and it'll kind of walk you through just the basics of kind of what we talked about here, and they can contact me through there if they have any other questions.
Perfect. And then I'll post that too for everybody below this when I post it up in
awesome
2 days, so they can just click the link also. So
very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Perfect. And thanks for taking the time, Mike. I enjoy it, and a lot of people are going to get some good stuff out of this. I said, like, I didn't bring a lot of questions because I knew it would just kind of come up when we talk about stuff.
And sure, yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
We'll have to do something else later on. Whenever we connect, we'll do some videos together for something for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome. Cool.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Everybody, if you got questions, post them below. Go check out Mike's stuff. Sign up, get his videos, and stay tuned for more awesome content for you guys. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.